Yeah. And I was going to start the show out with this because I usually do, when somebody passes away, but I kind of wanted to spend more time on it. And I didn't want to fucking jump right out the gate with some sad shit. But it is it is the cover art for this week's episode. And I got the news that Menacide had passed away after I recorded last week's episode. I believe news broke last Sunday. Had I, had I, if I still recorded my podcast on Sundays, I would have covered it last week. But we're doing Saturdays now, but the news did break. Menacide did pass away. It's fucking sad, man. I'm a fan of Menacide. Now, haven't been talking about him on the show because he hasn't released music in a couple years. I believe we did cover his Reign Supreme albums when they dropped. I believe I had just started my podcast when he was releasing those albums, right around that time. And Menicide's another dude from the Wicked Underground scene that I've been listening to for a good 15 years. This dude is one of the first artists I found on the horrorcore forums, horrorcore.com forums back in the day. And this dude was the shit. This dude was like, I wouldn't really even consider this dude horrorcore, but he was part of the scene. He was part of the Wicked Underground. And this dude could rap his ass off. Great songwriter. Dude was super dope. I've gone back this past week just bumping his discography just because I haven't listened to it in a while. And, usually when when somebody passes, you go back, bump the shit, relive it, and yeah, this dude tried, really tried to help the Wicked Underground scene by putting people on. You go back to the Heavy Hitters album, the Underground Hustlin' series. That album got packaged with the Underground Hustlin'. Him and mcnastee hosted it. They were really trying to put on up and coming dudes. And even later on in his career, when he dropped the Reign Supreme albums, he was really trying to, those albums were super feature heavy, whereas his earlier work wasn't. And Menacide was affiliated with Mission Infect, Seven Seal, again, Riders Records, Third Shift Entertainment. He had his own label, 13% Records with mcnastee. Affiliated with Intrins Inc. This dude, he was all over the place, man. And, just fucking sad news to report. But, Menacide was that dude. If you've never heard Menicide's music or even heard of him, everything he's released, pretty much, minus a couple mixtapes, but his main albums are all up on Apple Music, Spotify, all that. I highly recommend you go bump that shit. Now, the go-to album for me from Menacide would be Drugz, the Drugz LP. That was my first album I heard from him. I believe he had just released that album when I first got into him, and I highly recommend that shit. I consider that shit a classic in the whole, Wicked Underground scene. Just so many bangers on there. Love that album from Menacide. Also, Street Symphony is a real close second for me. But I mean, everything this dude did was just top notch, top quality, from the engineering, mixing and mastering, which I believe he did all that shit himself, to the packaging of CDs and all that shit. Like, his shit sounded crisp and clean. Great songwriter, like I said, and just he has a bunch of music up on Apple Music. I'm looking at it right now. I'm looking at the Drugz LP. He's got Magic Deuce on here, the Heavy Hitters, mcnastee, Dan the Saltine, Shot One's on here, Too Strange, like just super dope album, as is pretty much everything else he released. And yeah, super unfortunate, that he fucking passed like that. It's always, I want to say it's unexpected, but it's always unexpected when somebody dies for the most part. I heard he was battling some health issues and, it ultimately took him. But, Menacide was that dude, was that fucking dude. And yeah, rest in peace to Menacide. There is also a GoFundMe for him for, his final expenses, funeral expenses. And I just wanted to get that out there as well. There is a GoFundMe. I'll have a link in the YouTube description. There is also a link up on beneathdirt.com. If you go to beneathdirt.com, it brings you to my link tree. And at the very top, there's the Menacide GoFundMe. They're raising money. They're about halfway to their goal of raising the money for the funeral costs for Menacide. And yeah, if you can donate, if you are planning on donating to the show this week, instead of that, donate to the Menacide GoFundMe. And if you do donate to the Beneath the Dirt podcast this week, I will take that money and donate it to the Menacide GoFundMe to help his family out with his funeral expenses. So, yeah, any donations that come in, I will donate it just so you're aware. Or if you just want to go ahead and go to the GoFundMe yourself, you could do that as well. You're not obligated to do it. I'm just putting it out there that his family's trying to raise money, and rest in peace to Menacide and all the fucking dope ass music that he gave us, all his solo shit, the Heavy Hitters album, Separated at Birth album. I almost forgot about this one, but I was actually bumping it today. The Michigan Militia album with Saint Sinner. That shit, it didn't come out for what, like 10 years, something like that. Like if you follow the Wicked Underground scene at all, that album was supposed to have dropped in like 08, 09, something like that, maybe 2010. And it just came out a few years back. And that was such a dope album. And I'm glad it finally got, it had gotten released. Michigan Militia, that's also up on Apple Music, Spotify, all that shit. But yeah, rest in peace to Menacide, man. Go brush up on his music if if you're not familiar. And if you are, then you already know he was fucking dope. Dude fucking could rap and put out quality, real high quality music, without a doubt. So, rest in peace to Menacide. And, it's a shame to report on the shit and to give his flowers after he passed. But we're still giving him his flowers, giving him his shine, and, still get that music out there and heard. So, yeah. Rest in peace to Menacide, man. Fucking crazy.